Okay, let's dive right in. The year is 1914. Europe thinks it's the absolute pinnacle of civilization, but honestly, under the surface, it's basically a high school cafeteria. You've got all the major countries flexing, loading up on weapons, and just giving each other the side eye, just waiting for someone to start something. Everybody knew a huge war was coming. But here's the thing. Nobody, and I mean nobody, could have guessed that the spark for this global inferno wouldn't be some brilliant strategic masterstroke. Oh no. It was going to be a whole series of unbelievably dumb mistakes, all capped off by one of the most unlucky wrong turns in all of human history. So how in the world do you get from one confused driver to the entire planet on fire? Let's get into it. So, the mood in Europe was petty, super petty. France was still really salty about losing some land to Germany a while back. Germany was the ambitious new kid on the block, building this big, sexy navy pretty much just to tick off the British. And then you had these two old empires, Austria-Hungary and the Ottomans, just desperately trying to keep it together while everyone inside their borders was itching for independence. And into this complete mess strolls our guy, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to that shaky Austro-Hungarian throne. He decides, you know what would be a great idea? A little trip to Sarajevo. This is a place, mind you, that is filled with people who really do not like being part of his empire. And how does he decide to travel? In an open-top car. With his entire route published in the newspaper beforehand, you can't make this stuff up. So, naturally, there's a bunch of assassins waiting for him. The first guy in line gets his shot. He hurls a bomb, and it just bounces right off the Archduke's convertible. It flies through the air, lands on the car behind them, and blows up, injuring a few officers. But the Archduke himself? Totally fine. He speeds off, totally safe, crisis averted. Phew! So the war never happens, right? Everybody just goes home, and history moves on peacefully.
Wrong! In a move that just defies all common sense, the Archduke decides he can't possibly leave town yet. No, he insists on going to the hospital to visit the officers who got hurt by the bomb. In the very same open-top car.
And this is where it just gets completely ridiculous. His driver, who isn't from the area, gets all turned around by the new route and takes a wrong turn. He has to stop the car to figure out where in the world he is, and he stops directly in front of a little cafe where one of the failed assassins had gone to grab a sandwich and probably mope about his failure. The assassin just looks up, sees his target sitting there, a sitting duck, and, well, he doesn't miss twice. And that one single event triggers the dumbest chain reaction in history. See, Austria-Hungary blames Serbia for the whole thing. Germany gives Austria a blank check to do whatever it wants. So, Austria declares war on Serbia. But Russia is buddies with Serbia, so Russia starts mobilizing its army against Austria, which means Germany has to declare war on Russia. And since Russia and France are allies, well, you can see where this is going. One by one, all the dominoes fall. Now, Germany thought they were geniuses. They had this whole foolproof plan called the Schlieffen Plan. They knew Russia's army was gigantic, but also super slow to get ready. So the plan was smash France, super fast, knock them out of the war in a few weeks, and then pivot their entire army across the continent to deal with the slow-moving Russians. Easy, right? There was just one tiny little problem with that plan. See, to get to France that fast, the German army had to march through neutral Belgium. They figured the Belgians would just, roll over and let them pass. Instead, little Belgium decided to fight back. And they were surprisingly tough, slowing that whole German invasion way down.
And here's the next blunder. Invading a neutral country. That was a massive diplomatic no-no. It gave Great Britain the perfect excuse to jump into the fight. The Brits were absolutely furious, declared war on Germany, and just like that, Germany's plan for a quick little war was already going up in smoke.
I mean, the thinking at the start of this war was it was so outdated. Just look at the French uniforms. They literally marched into battle in the 20th century wearing bright blue coats and vibrant red pants. They were basically walking targets. Meanwhile, the Germans were wearing gray-green, which is, the color of dirt. You can probably guess who had the tactical advantage there. So between Belgium's heroic resistance and Britain jumping in, that big German push towards Paris finally ground to a halt. The French, with the British helping out, managed to stop them, but neither side could land a knockout punch. So they did the next logical thing. They started digging, and they kept digging until a massive line of muddy trenches stretched all the way from the English Channel to the Swiss border. And trench warfare was its own special kind of nightmare. I want you to imagine living for months on end in a filthy ditch, surrounded by giant rats, pools of poisoned water, and the bodies of your friends. And the only break you get from that misery is when some general, miles away, orders you to climb out of your hole and charge across a field of barbed wire directly into machine gun fire.
Just to give you an idea of the insane scale of this slaughter, on the very first day of the Battle of the Somme, the British Army had 60,000 casualties. 60,000 men in a single day, all to gain maybe a few hundred yards of mud.
So at the Western Front, just this bloody, immovable stalemate, both sides started looking around for new allies, new places to fight, anything to try and break the deadlock. And that's when the war went truly global, pulling in empires and countries from all over, like the Ottomans in Italy.
For the most part, this just created a world tour of spectacularly bad ideas. The Ottomans decided to attack Russia in the Caucasus Mountains in the middle of winter. Most of their soldiers literally froze to death. Italy switched sides to join the Allies, only to get completely bogged down in brutal mountain warfare in the Alps. And my personal favorite, German agents sent to Afghanistan to try and start a holy war against the British just got bored, brewed their own beer, and got drunk instead. Meanwhile, back in Europe, Germany realized they were stuck in a long, grinding war of attrition they might actually lose, so they decided to stop playing nice. They started using these huge Zeppelin airships to bomb British cities, and they unleashed their U-boats to sink any ship heading to Britain, and that included civilian passenger ships. By 1917, everyone was just at their absolute limit. The French army was dealing with massive mutinies, the British were running out of men, the German people back home were literally starving to death because of the British naval blockade. The whole war had just become this grim test of endurance, and the only real question was, who was going to crack first? And we have a winner, or a loser, I guess, depending on how you look at it. It's Russia. They were completely fed up with the war, the millions of casualties, the starvation, and this weird mystic dude advising the royal family. So the Russian people revolted. Not once, but twice. And the new government that took over immediately pulled Russia right out of the war. Now, this was fantastic news for Germany. They could finally move all their soldiers from the east over to the west for one last giant push. But there was still one big problem looming on the horizon: the United States. So, in a moment of pure 200-proof diplomatic genius, the German foreign minister sent a top-secret telegram to Mexico. And the proposal was basically, hey Mexico, how'd you like to attack the USA for us? But here's the kicker. British intelligence intercepted the telegram and decoded the entire thing. And they just gleefully handed it over to the Americans. And that, on top of Germany sinking ships with Americans on them, was the final straw. The United States of America declared war on Germany. And that kicked off the final race against time. Germany threw everything it had left into one last massive offensive, hoping they could win before the Americans showed up in huge numbers. They actually made some big gains at first, but their resources were just evaporating. At the exact same time, fresh American troops started pouring into Europe by the thousands every day. The tide had turned, and it wasn't turning back. In the end, Germany's allies just collapsed, one after another. And on November 11th, 1918, Germany finally surrendered. After 4 years of pointless slaughter that wiped entire empires off the map and destroyed a generation of young men, the world finally learned its lesson. Never again, they said, would they allow such a horrific, senseless war to happen. For about 20 years.